Welcome to Ryan's Running Reviews in partnership with Roadrunner Sports, and today we're taking a look at a rather interesting shoe. It's the TYR Dropzero Barefoot Trainer. So here we go. Before we get started, I do want to say these shoes were provided to me by Roadrunner Sports. However, no one had a chance to preview this video, and this file synopsis is my own. I'd also like to say please leave a like on the video and consider subscribing. Here we go. As the name implies, this is a super minimalistic barefoot shoe intended for the gym and training and just casual wear in general. You can roll this thing up any way you want. There is not much structure at all. It's really designed to move with your feet. Now, can you use this for running? Absolutely. I suggest if you want to run in a barefoot shoe, you really take your time and ease into it. Personally, I do not run in barefoot shoes. I like the more traditional, thicker, more plush options, but I do love barefoot shoes for the gym and casual wear. I've used, I think, the Vivo Barefoots for quite a while now, and the Lems casual barefoot shoes. I thoroughly enjoy them. So I was actually really excited to try TYR's Dropzero barefoot option, and I'm quite impressed. I really like how it fit my foot, and I realize zero drop shoes aren't for everyone, but I do recommend giving them a shot. It's nice to kind of mix things up. For me personally, I like them just because, one, they're comfortable and I've kind of been able to adjust to them, and it helps your body adapt to different kinds of shoes instead of just always using super plush and thick options. TYR did not put out too many stats for this shoe. It does cost $130, and we know it has a 0mm heel to toe drop where the heel is level with the forefoot. Again, it's supposed to mimic a barefoot experience. As far as like the stack heights go, I don't know, I'd say it's pretty darn minimal, maybe like the 5mm range. Again, TYR did not put anything out on that officially. It does have an insert, which is also super thin. I peeled it up, it's glued down just to see how much padding it gives you. It's, I'd say, thinner than what you see in most typical running shoes. And then the rubber itself, very thin as well. You can really feel pretty much every rock and pebble that you step over, which I think is the goal for a shoe such as this. You really want to be able to grip and feel the ground. If we move on to the upper, it's a one-piece, fairly robust knit material. And surprisingly enough, it's actually very breathable. Sometimes knit materials can be a little bit closed off and not have the greatest amount of airflow, and that is not the case here. They opted for these large holes in the midfoot you can see directly into the shoe, and then they also have some large holes in the toe box. So breathability, not a concern, even though this is a knit upper. Now, as far as the fit goes, it was true to size for me, and because it's a barefoot shoe, or I should say a lot of times with barefoot shoes, you get the kind of anatomically correct wide toe box, so it gives your toes plenty of room to splay out and really grip the ground, which I absolutely love when lifting, and it's part of the reason I like shoes like this. It really just feels like you're wearing pretty much nothing at all on your feet, which I think is exactly the purpose of this option. The tongue is integrated directly into the upper. It's just all one piece. However, it is a different material. It's going to be a little bit more stretchy and elastic, has more give to it, which makes getting your foot in and out of the shoe very easy. And then that stretchy material kind of goes around the ankle and Achilles section as well. Now, with one piece knit uppers, it can be a little bit tricky to get a true, proper, secure fit, just because when you pull laces tight, you get some bunching of the tongue on the top of your foot, which can be uncomfortable. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend this shoe for explosive movements or quick turns and cuts, just because you do have a little bit of sliding here with that wide toe box, and the upper itself, there's not much structure here. It's fairly flimsy, where I know some other barefoot shoes have a little bit more containment on their midfoot and just upper in general. And I think TYR makes a strapped version of this shoe. So if you're doing any quick cuts, turns, or things like that, I'd probably go in a different direction. But if you're doing kind of more static lifts or movements, I think this works quite well. And that's what I really enjoyed it for. And then if we go towards the back of the shoe, you have these very light and minimal foam pads, which give you a little bit of cushioning. I think it works quite well. And much like the rest of the shoe, the heel counter here, very minimal in nature. Now, the only complaint I had about the heel counter was on the inside here, you have this essentially layered fabric, and I did have a little bit of rubbing. I wish they maybe kind of make it smoother or just go up higher, just because this seam point was right next to the back of my ankle, and if I wasn't wearing the proper socks, it would create some pain. And if I wasn't wearing any socks at all, you noticed it a bit more than I would have liked. You can wear this without socks, but again, there was that seam point at the back that gave me a little bit of irritation. It was just right towards the back of the heel counter. But otherwise, I really like the upper here. I think it gets the job done for what it's intended for. The lockdown, again, not the best, just because one piece knit upper, hard to get laces situated and everything like that. But for the most part, I think it looks pretty cool, and for the movements I needed it for, it performed very well. One other thing I do want to mention is the crease right here where the toes bend. It does take a little bit to break in this shoe. I had a little bit of discomfort where the kind of plastic lacing overlay would hit the top of my foot, but after putting some time in the shoe, that feeling went away and kind of the upper loosened up and was able to move with my foot a bit more. So I will say give it some time, and then that kind of crease point creates less of an irritation and eventually fades away once you kind of fully break in this upper. And then if we move on to the midsole, or lack thereof, it's pretty much all just the what TYR calls TYR tack rubber. It's very sticky, and I really like how well it performed. It grips the ground very well. And then the midsole does have some kind of wraparound features where it comes up towards the top of the toe box on both the lateral and medial side, and the same can be said for the heel counter. So it kind of makes your foot feel contained within this very minimal platform. And again, this is a minimalist barefoot shoe, so you can roll this thing up and just kind of move it all around. It really is kind of designed and does move with your foot, which is a big reason of why I like it. You can actually kind of see my toe prints coming through the outsole, which really shows you just how minimal this thing is and how well it moves with even your individual toes, which I quite liked. So how did the shoe perform for me? Well, I used it a lot for walking, casual wear, and leg day at the gym, and it pretty much met almost all my expectations. Now, it's not perfect. I do wish they would fix the internal seam in the back of the heel counter. It created some slight discomfort when wearing minimal or no socks at all, and I do wish that maybe the lockdown was just a tiny bit better if you're doing explosive movements. Again, I know they had the strapped version, but for the most part, when doing my just kind of stationary lifts or just walking around, I think it got the job done. And I love the fact that it is a more breathable knit upper as well. I think that is a huge plus. And then for the midsole, or I guess outsole, whatever you want to call it on a barefoot shoe, I really like the sticky rubber. I think it performs excellently. It's pretty much no notes there, and then you have these kind of mini rubber sidewalls which kind of keep your foot contained, even though the upper is going to be a bit more loose. It is very, very thin and moves very well with your foot, which I think is a really intended goal, and they executed on that goal here, which I'm kind of happy to report. If you haven't tried a barefoot shoe before, I realize they're not for everyone, but I do recommend at least giving it a go at least once. Mainly because it's just a fun, different experience that allows the muscles in your feet to get stronger instead of having to rely on a super thick midsole all the time. Again, shoes aren't for everyone. I recommend you kind of ease into it slowly. Just don't go all the way into a barefoot shoe. But for me, I've really enjoyed them over the last couple of years. And this one, I think, definitely kind of lived up to what I was kind of hoping for out of a TYR Barefoot Trainer. And I have no problem recommending it, with the caveat of those kind of minor issues I mentioned before. Let me know in the comments if you tried a barefoot shoe before, or if it's something you're interested in trying. I would love to hear from you. I'm Ryan from Ryan's Running Reviews, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks.